Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today is going to be another my thoughts on video, though I'm also going to use it now as a quick little announcement. Next week, hobby projects return to the channel. You may remember last year I did a nice long hobby project for Age of Sigmar and the Stormcast Eternals. Well, new year, new army-ish, and therefore new hobby project and therefore new series for the channel. So I'm going to follow the same format as I followed for A Town Called Malice, although I'm not going to be doing bilingual episodes. That was a special thing because I was abroad in France for that year. I'm back in England now, so I'm not going to be doing bilingual episodes. I'm sorry. And the project I'm going to be working on is sort of something that I'm going to link into this video. I'm going to be returning to my Daughters of Cain. I've been promising for a long time to do an Elfin Adventure Season 2. That was a hobby project I did 3 years ago. I've been promising for ages to go back to it, and with the release of Daughters of Cain as a full battle tome, I thought now was as good a time as any. I didn't do it before because I was doing my Stormcast, and it would have never worked because I've never got the models home. They're just too damn flimsy. So there's your announcement. An Elfin Adventure Season 2 will be returning next week on the channel. But today I wanted to talk about characters, and the reason I wanted to mention Elfin Adventure is because I'm going to be showing off two of the models from that. So here are two models from the army. You'll get a proper look at them in the coming weeks. This is a Death Hag. It's actually an old model that I've repainted, and this is Morathi. Yes, I have Morathi. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll already know this. So what I want to talk about today is characters, and specifically custom characters versus established named characters, because some armies have named characters, really big personalities that are sort of the figurehead for the army that lead them in everything they do. Others have named characters that are just heroes of that particular faction, who have gained repute over time or who have been around for a long, long time and have just become renowned. In the former case, you have individuals like Morathi. Morathi is the founder of the Daughters of Cain, the leader of the Daughters of Cain, the High Oracle of Cain, the Shadow Queen, and almost a god. She's not quite a god, but she's kind of demigod tier. She's not on Alarielle or Malerian's level, but she's up there. She's exceptionally powerful, and the entirety of the Cult of Cain revolves around Morathi. That's kind of how it works. It all comes back to her, mainly because of the Iron Heart of Cain. That's a subject for a lore video if I ever do AOS lore, so I'm not going to talk about it too much here. Then you have characters like Volturnos, the High King of the Deeps, for the Idoneth Deepkin. Volturnos is not exactly the de facto leader of the Idoneth Deepkin. He does not speak for all of them. He represents one faction in particular, his little group, and he's their king, yes, but he doesn't represent all of them. He doesn't speak for all of them. He's just one of the first, I think he was the first Idoneth ever created by Teclis, so he's got a reputation and he's got some cool gear because that's what Teclis gave to him. But he is a named character and you use him as such. I'm sure many other armies have their own examples, and you can go across to 40k and apply the same argument. You have characters like Robu Gilliman, who is the figurehead of the entire Imperium, and then you have characters like Scout Sergeant Telian, or maybe to use a better example, maybe Captain Sicarius, who is not exactly the leader of the Ultramarines yet, but he has some cool war gear and a bit of interesting backstory. So it really does vary on what a named character is, but you then have your regular characters like Hag Queens, Space Marine Captains, Achelian Kings, whatever it happens to be. And some people will swear by using named characters, and others will not go near them. And I wanted to talk about why some people use named characters and why some people don't use named characters, and maybe help you come to a decision when you're building your next army or expanding your current army. Should I get that named character? I'll just give you a few things to think about as we go forward. So let's start with the named characters themselves. Why do you take named characters? Well, Rule 1, or Choice 1, is the rule of cool. Because why wouldn't you want your army of Space Marines, of Ultramarines, let's say, to be led by their Primarch? Why wouldn't you want your Storm host of Hammers of Sigmar to be led by Vandas Hammerhand? Why wouldn't you want this super awesome named character who represents that subgroup of your faction or your faction as a whole to lead your army, because it's just cool. They very often have incredibly impressive miniatures. I've just been working, as you can see, on Marathi. That is an amazing miniature, and a lot of them have got very unique, very cool models that make them stand out amongst their peers. You can easily tell when someone puts a named character down on the board, oh flip, they've got a named character, that's so cool. Or at least that's something that I think about. And of course you have the narrative implications. If Gilliman is here leading your army, obviously this battle has suddenly got much more importance that the Lord Commander himself has deemed to take this force to the field. Or if Marathi has shown her favour to your Bloodrat Medusa or Slaughter Queen or Hag Queen and deigned to lead this army of Daughters of Cain onto the board, well, obviously she sees something in your army, therefore it just heightens the narrative gravitas. Particularly if both sides have these powerful characters. You have Gilliman versus Magnus, you have Marathi versus Nagash, or you have Vander Samahan versus Archaon, I don't sodding know. You have a huge amount of options that just ramp up the narrative feel and how the game is to you as in terms of imagination. If you're someone who runs with narrative and loves to craft stories around your games, named characters really do heighten the drama, and they're a great pick for that reason. On the tabletop, they also have a lot going for them. They often have very powerful weapons, very powerful special rules, and in the case of Age of Sigmar, particularly special unique abilities like command abilities and the like. So to go back to Marathi as an example, she is the most powerful wizard in the Daughters of Cain, bar none, at least when she's in a hierarchical form. She's got a more powerful command ability than anybody else, bar none, but she has to be your general, side point. She's got a very powerful melee weapon. It might be the most powerful melee weapon in the entire army when it's in the Shadow Queen form. She's got a lot of resilience because she cannot be one-shot killed. She's also quite difficult to hit if you're in hierarchical form because of the 2 sets of -1s you can get on the hit rolls. And generally she is very, very unique. And of course she's also got, when she's in Shadow Queen form, a lot of speed, a lot of punch, and still got some magic, and got all sorts of good things going for her that make her an absolute powerhouse. Other examples like Castellan Creed, if you use him in your Astra Militarum army, I'm not so familiar with exactly how he works, but if you compare how regular average Joe company commander works and what they have access to versus what Creed has access to in terms of what's on their data sheet, I need to stress that, what's on their data sheet, they are a lot more useful and a lot more powerful. I need to stress datasheet for a reason I'll get onto in a moment. So they have a lot going for them. There are a lot of reasons why you would say, yes, I want that named character. I want them for display purposes, so I can put them down on the table and wow my opponents. So that when we're creating these games or campaigns together, we have a reason why our heroes are squaring off. And we have these big epic battles fought between the legends of the realms or the galaxy. It really cranks things up. And on the tabletop, of course, they are generally massive boosters or massive beat sticks, or both, depending on who they are. There's a lot of reasons why you should take them. But there are reasons why you may want to think, well, maybe I shouldn't take that named character. Maybe I should just take a basic character and just tool them out a bit. So why would you do that? Well, if you're a 40k player, you have customization out the wazoo. You want to take Commander Shadow Sun? Fine. But you can take a Tau Commander that can take any combination of guns and armor that you like and will do exactly what you want them to do. It's not a case of, well, I really like the ability of this named character, but they don't really have the punch. That if I take a custom commander, I might not get quite as much buff, but I get the punch that I need. Or vice versa. This character is really, really powerful at beating dudes up, but they don't really have anything that supports the army. Whereas if I take this not named character and tool them out a bit, I can give them a reasonable amount of punch, but they have this really useful special rule that means that they can do something very, very useful. Maybe they unlock a battle line choice for you. Maybe they do something else, whatever it so happens to be. So you get more options, you get choice. And this is especially true in 40k because characters are customizable. You can swap in different guns, different melee weapons, different armors, and you can do all sorts of things with them. Whatever you need them to do, they can do it, generally. Whereas named characters, with very few exceptions, cannot take any customization or options whatsoever. There might be the odd one that can change their armor. For example, Marnius Calgar might be able to take his Artificer armor or his Terminator armor, as an example. You might get a little bit of customization, but not much. So taking those non-named characters gives you that control, that fine-tuning. The other thing they are is generally, as a rule of thumb, quite cheap. If you want to take Morathi, you're paying 500 points, give or take. I think it's 460 off the top of my head. I think it's 460. That's a lot. For that 460 points, I could take a Slaughter Queen on a Cauldron of Blood, a Hag Queen, and a Bloodrack Medusa, nearly. If Morathi's more than 500 points, I can take all of that. If I want to take a slightly cheaper combination, Bloodrack Shrine, Hag Queen, Slaughter Queen. That's 3 heroes for 380 points. And I've still got 80 points left over, so I can put a unit of, let's say, Kinnerai or another Hag Queen into my army. For the same cost as taking Morathi. Now, I know Morathi's a bit of a unique exception in that she's got her 2 forms. But if you go across to Ideneth, it is 40 points cheaper to take an Nikelian King versus taking Volturnos. Personally, I don't think that's good value, but they are generally cheaper. A Tau Commander is cheaper than Commander Farsight unless you tool them out. A Space Marine Captain is less than Carter Sicarius unless you tool them out the wazoo. You will get better value, point for point, using a not-named character because you can fine-tune them and they're cheaper. And if you do make them roughly the same cost, you've got a lot of gear that character is carrying around, and so you're going to get a lot of boosts. The third reason, and this is probably the more prevalent thing for Age of Sigmar, is extra special rules and equipment, command traits, artifacts, those sorts of things. Those things are not allowed to be taken on unique characters. It's not allowed. You are not allowed to give Morathi an artifact or a command trait, but a Hag Queen or a Slaughter Queen, oh, they can have them. You are not allowed to give the Celestant Prime any special armor or any extra gimmick, but a Lord Celestant or a Knight Incantor, they can. And I think the same is also true in 40k from what I remember. Yes, Commander Farsight's got his own unique war gear, he's got the Dawn Blade and that sort of thing, but he can't take the Onega Gauntlet. He can't take Iridium Armor, but a Tau Commander can. And that means that you have, again, more fine-tuned control over what you add to your characters. And in the case of Age of Sigmar's artifacts, they have some very powerful abilities hidden away and gated behind having certain characters or just having the option to take them because you're not unique. So you might need to be a wizard, you might need to be a priest, you might just need to be a hero. And then, all of a sudden, hello, I can have this really powerful artifact that massively boosts me, or massively affects the army, or does something that screws over enemies, and that's great. And then I can take a command trait on top of that. And they can be very, very powerful as well. It could be healing, it could be debuffs to enemies, it could be buffs to damage, it could be more capability of doing chicanery. It might be making your army's general allegiance abilities far more powerful. They are very, very strong in many cases, command traits, and characters can't take them. Or if they can take them, they're usually locked. So it might be that Logan Grimnar has the Saga of Majesty by default as his warlord trait, Saga, whatever the Space Wolves call them. He can't take Saga of the Bear or Saga of the Warrior Born because he just can't. They're not what he's about. You can't do that with him. So if you want Saga of the Warrior Born, you're going to have to go and take a Wolf Lord and do it that way. Or a battle leader of some sort, I don't know. You can't do it. Sometimes you'll get locked in options. So Morathi has Enchanting Beauty, which is a quite useful one for her to have, integrated as one of her special rules. She doesn't have a command trait, she can't take one, but she has a command trait as a special rule, effectively, which, again, locks her abilities in. If you want that choice, and you want those options that the abilities give you, you can't use named characters to take them. And sometimes that may leave you in odd situations where you have the named character, but they're not your general because you want your general to have a command trait. For example, sometimes they force you to be general, it kind of varies. So there might be a scenario where Morathi is second fiddle to a Slaughter Queen because the Slaughter Queen gets the command trait. That does come with a cost as well, because some models have, if this model is your general command abilities in Age of Sigmar, so it may be that only your general can use their command ability, like Morathi and the Slaughter Queen are both examples of that. So there are options both ways. And the other thing is, actually, interestingly enough, narrative. You can use narrative on both sides of this argument. So on the narrative side for non-named characters, you can do whatever you want with them. If you're someone who enjoys writing homebrews, or enjoys crafting backstories for your characters as you play, or even just naming them and giving them some reason to have certain traits. So they have this trait because this happened in their life. They belong to this faction because this happened in their life. They made this decision here. They fought this enemy there. You have far more control over your backstories, and to some people, that is far more appealing to have your own avatar on the battlefield acting as you would in that faction, or maybe doing things that you think that faction should do for you. They're your avatar, they're your embodiments of the army on the tabletop. Some people love that. I quite enjoy that. I like to name my characters, but you can't always have that same fine-tuned control if you're taking a named character. Of course, you can, I should stress, you can take named character plus other characters. That's completely allowed. But generalship, you do have to decide who's going to be your general. And sometimes having the commander of your faction play second fiddle just because named dude is around might not suit you. It's up to you. So there you go. That is just a little bit of my thoughts on custom characters versus named characters. Obviously, it is completely up to you what you choose to run. But, in my opinion, you should always give named characters a bit of a look before you just discard them out of hand. Have a read of their backstory. Does it suit the way you think the army should play? Do they fit your playstyle and your image of the faction? Do they suit the way you think? If so, maybe give them a think. Are their models so impressive that you would almost be remiss not to put them in your army? If so, consider having a look at them. Can you find a way to pay the extra point tax that often a named character brings and get them into your army to unlock their abilities? Will those abilities suit you? If so, what sacrifices are you willing to make to get them in? If you are still unsure, then just playtest with a proxy if you can. I mean, Morathi's a hard one to do, but find a way to test them. See if they suit the way you play before you put them into your final army. Because I understand they are expensive miniatures to buy in many cases. It costs a lot to get a Guilliman or an Agash or a Volturnos into your army. I'm fully aware of that. But it's obviously your call at the end of the day. But give them a thought, because I think it is something worth considering. And if you do decide to go down the custom character route, then do yourself a favour and really craft them. Don't just think, oh, I'm taking this because they're OP, and I'm going to give them this because it makes them more OP, and this because it makes the army more OP. Sure, that's a tournament mindset. You're welcome to have that mindset. But if you're putting in non-named characters and you're saying, I'm not taking a named character for this reason, give your custom character a little bit of life. Give them a backstory. Give them a relic. Give them a command trait that suits what story you've crafted for them. Let them be your avatar, because there's nothing more fun than letting your heroes and the characters you love duke it out on the battlefield, at least to my mind. So give it a consideration. I think it'd be really worth doing. Anyway, that's all for today. Next week, remember, an Elfin adventure returns. The Daughters of Cain get to take to the battlefield for the first time in 3 fucking years, and I can't wait to get back to it. Let me know what you think of my thoughts today in the comments below. Give your thoughts as well. And if you have any suggestions for future My Thoughts On videos, do let me know. I'm always interested to try and get something together and have a think about those things, because I always like having a bit of a think and a bit of a discussion. That's why I started this sort of unofficial series. So, thank you very much for watching Tactica Imperialis. This has been my thoughts on custom and named characters in your games of 40k and AOS. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.